All right. Well, hey everyone, thanks for jumping on for our first episode of Cantaloupe Brew Time. This is our first new LinkedIn Live session where we're going to be trying to get together with interesting people throughout the industry to talk through interesting topics that are happening in the world of vending today. No slides. This is going to be a little bit more of a casual conversation. We're still going to have our webinars for nice, more formal educational topics. For this one, a little bit more of a kind of a roundtable discussion where we can get together and kind of talk a little bit more off the bullet points. But I'm Adrian Austin. You might recognize me from our Cantaloupe webinars or not. That's all right too. I'm not used to being on video here. But I'll be your host today alongside Russ Russell, who's in the lower left-hand side, also from Cantaloupe, who's going to be our co-host. So Russ, is this your first webinar like this, or is this one that are you already an experienced vet?
First LinkedIn Live. Been on some webinars for us quite a few times, but definitely the first live event. So pretty cool.
Nice. Very good. Well, like I said, premier event, so hopefully we're not going to be hitting too many technology slags. Give us a little bit of grace if we are. It's a brand new streaming session. But like I said, going to be more casual conversations about the vending space. So the topic for this episode is going to be Tales from the Trenches, how to overcome vending challenges at your operation. So in case you didn't read through what the description of what that means, we're going to go and be talking to each of our guests that we have here to have them share their experience of a big challenge that they've had at their operation and how they've overcome it or how they're continuing to overcome it. They both got a chance to pick their own topic. Neither of them have really dove into the details of who the other one's topic is. So hopefully there'll be some fun conversation as we go along the way, and it'll be an interesting discussion. One cool thing that I do want to talk about before we get going into it. So if you want to post any comments or questions as you go, if you're used to our usual webinars, we usually save those all the way to the end and then kind of go through them one at a time as we have time to do it. In this case, you can ask your comments and questions as we go live. You can actually see other people's comments on the right-hand side. But also, if we've got something that's going to be popping up, that's interesting to the topic as we're discussing it, and we're able to kind of like pull it up with the right amount of, adminness. It's our first time doing it, so we're going to do it the best we can. We're going to be able to throw those up on screen. So, for example, it'll look kind of like this. Mariah saying, thanks for joining our first LinkedIn Live. Feel free to say hello and share what you're joining today. So kind of neat stuff. Feel free to talk with those as you go along. If anything, it just kind of gives you an option to stay engaged, but kind of a neat little new thing there we have with this streaming platform. But that's it for admin things. So what we're going to do now is actually go into the interesting part of the show and introduce our guests. So first off, we're going to talk with Chris Constantino from Take a Break Vending. So Chris, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're located, anything notable you want to share about you or about Take a Break?
Yeah, so we're located Southern California, just a little north of Los Angeles. I myself have been in the industry for a little over 25 years, and Take a Break's been around for, well, a little bit longer than that, but current owners own this particular branch since 2008, even though they've been around here since roughly 2002. So I've worked my way from the bottom, and now I'm here.
Very cool. Would you say this is your favorite position you've been at so far, or do you like
No.
the days of being a driver? No.
I'm an overglorified babysitter, if you will.
It's very cool. Well, we're doing one also icebreaker fun question too. Brew Time with Cantaloupe is the name of the show. We're going to be trying to talk about everyone's favorite brew or favorite beverage they've got going on today. So what's your favorite go-to that you've got for us?
Well, I just topped off the coffee, but triple digits requires a lot of water, so I'm just going boring ice and water this morning.
Very cool. And you're in LA, but I think I remember seeing the other side of the cup. There's a sports team on there that might not be.
Oh, can you see it? No.
Oh,
Yep.
almost like
Somewhere right. There it is.
Yes. San Francisco Giants.
Not quite. We're not quite LA, so I don't have to be a Dodger fan.
Love it. Awesome. Well, jumping over to our next case here, Jace Gatmaitan from T&B Vending. Jace, hopefully I'm getting your last name right there. But Jace, can you give us a little intro where you're located and a little bit about somebody about yourself and T&B?
Yeah. So you did better than anyone else does on the last name, so that was pretty good. So yeah, I'm Jace Gatmaitan. I've been in the business for about 20 years now. It's a family business. It's been up and going for, I don't know, 45, 50 years. Um, and we're just in Salt Lake. So we go from, I don't know if any of you guys are very familiar with Utah, but from up north of Ogden down to south of Nephi and everywhere in between, and a little bit east and west of Salt Lake as well. But yeah, our big focus is school vending, but we're in everything else as well.
That's really great. How many people in the family are in the business today?
Just two of us now. Everyone else has kind of gone out and done their own thing and different ventures everywhere else. So yeah, it's just me and my dad actually. And then that's the only people in the family left in the business.
Nice. So that's awesome. That's cool. We're keeping it in the family. I love it.
Yep. And I'm boring today too. I just have ice and water, just like every soccer mom out there in the Stanley Cup.
But the Stanley Cup that doubles with the weapon too. So if you got
Yep.
somebody coming and acting
Yeah.
some kind of way, you got that.
Oh yeah.
I know. On our next show, we've got to like do this when it's not a heat wave going into June, and so then people can start talking about something that's not that.
Yeah.
All right, Russ, gonna kick it over to you as our co-host. Can you give us a little intro about yourself and what you're drinking today?
Yeah. So again, my name is Russ Russell. I'm regional sales director for the West Coast here for Cantaloupe. I actually live in Bakersfield with Chris. Chris and Jace are both two of my operators. I have a lot, but know these two guys pretty well. Help them kind of work and continue to grow their business. It's been a lot of fun. And today, I do have to have coffee, not water, in my little Cantaloupe coffee mug. So just trying to rep the company, but I am a big coffee guy, so this fits right in with my daily routine.
Nice. I love it. I'll do mine too. Mine's the same thing, but it's in the boring like styrofoam cup. It's coffee from one of our local guys here in San Francisco. It's actually a buddy that I know that roasts his own stuff. Charges too much for it, I think, but it tastes really dang good. So sometimes I treat myself with that. That's what I got going on. All right. Well, great introductions, guys. Thanks for kind of kicking it around the horn there. So we're going to jump into the actual topics now. So Chris, we're going to start with you. Topic for today is lessons from the trenches, how you're overcoming challenges. So what challenge are you going to be talking to us about today?
Employment challenges. Seems like it's a never-ending cycle. Stuff gets work out all the kinks, find good employees, and they either move on or want a career change, or just sometimes just get a little too old for the job and want to look for something a little less strenuous as they do get older.
Yeah. Can you dive into a little bit more about some of those challenges that you're experiencing? I know we talked before, there's a few things about kind of the generational differences and then some of like your recent challenges of trying to find employees and then keep them. So maybe you can dive into some specifics of the stuff you're dealing with today.
Yeah. It's hard to find this job as a route driver, from a route driver's perspective, or what I look for is somebody who, individuals that are capable of self-managing themselves, right? Because they're out there by themselves anywhere from 8 to sometimes 10, 12 hours a day. And you've got to rely on those people to be able to do what you're asking of them and do it the right way and not get distracted. Especially with cell phones. We're all using tablets now in this technology age. And it's pretty easy to get distracted. And it seems like the younger generation is a little more distracted by that than the older generation, because it's get the job done and then worry about all the other stuff later. Where younger demographic, they tend to they can't get their hands off of that phone or their eyes off of it as well. So that tends to be an issue sometimes too. With that, on that same topic, the cell phone, the tablets, it poses distractions, right? And that can become unsafe as well. So it's trying to find somebody who can balance that freedom of being out there by themselves, self-managing themselves and and knowing when it's the right time to and not to get distracted by that phone or that tablet, if you will.
Yeah, that's gotta be a challenge trying to kind of balance where you're at, because they're gonna need the phone or the tablet for a lot of their stuff that they're doing along their routes, but then at the same time they got Instagram or the internet there kind of at their disposal. So what's kind of like your general go-to for tracking for a guy that says like, hey, this might be, you might be spending a little bit too much time scrolling and not enough time hitting stops. Are there numbers
Yeah,
that you're thinking about?
no, you can kind of, with the VMS, it kind of helps you to see how long it's taken to do certain things, right? So you can kind of see if they're messing off or if they're actually getting their job done and getting on to the next account in a timely manner. I'm sure Jace knows how long certain accounts take to service, and as so do I. So if I see somebody that's taking an extra 30, 45 minutes, where, hey, what are you doing here, bud? Now, I mean, if you're socializing with the customer, that's customer service. That's part of the job. So yeah, you can get tied up in a good conversation with the clients, and that's perfectly acceptable. Just as long as you're not getting tied up with your wife or your girlfriend, for that 45 minutes in lieu of taking care of the customer.
Yeah,
And Chris,
there's
oh,
go
go ahead,
ahead.
Jason.
I was
Go
gonna say
ahead,
there's
Jason.
plenty of times that I'm the same way. Like sometimes a driver will take quite a bit longer than say I would if I'm out there running the route. But if they're doing their job and they're doing it well, I'm okay with them spending a little extra time because I know any regular route driver is not going to go out there and work as fast as say Chris or I, because we have to go do their job and then come back and do ours. They're getting paid hourly to go fill candy machines. So I mean, if it takes them a little bit longer, they don't care because they're getting paid the same either way. I mean, we do pay a little bit of commission, but most guys don't even really look at that as much as say they're hourly. They're just out there to get
No,
their
and
hourly
when they
rate.
are when they are commission based, time is money, right? The faster
Yeah.
you do it, the more money you make. Which is why we kind of had to get away from the commission platform, go more hourly.
Yeah.
Small incentives, really not incentive based, to say. But yeah, we at one point were 100% commission, but then we had to back that off. Then we went to a salary. Of course, California law makes that challenging anymore, so we had to switch that to an hourly. And so you find them taking a little bit more time out in the field because,
Yeah.
well, time now the time equals money.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, we do a small commission rate and then just a normal hourly. So hopefully that small commission incentivizes them to go a little bit faster. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're gonna go out there and basically do what they want. But back to your topic about they're out there being their own boss, they basically are. I mean, that's what I tell them all in interviews as well. I say, you guys basically won't hear from me unless you're not doing your job correctly.
Exactly.
Um, you're your own boss out there doing your own thing until you're not, and then that's when you're gonna have to basically hear from me.
Yeah, and that poses issues. I mean, more times
Yeah.
than not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting kind of when you're going back and trying to find these route drivers too, because would you say that the turnover rate nowadays is higher when you're trying to find and keep these guys around, Chris?
Um, it, not it's not it's sometimes the first 2 to 4 weeks is going to tell all. I've recently unfortunately had a guy, he was probably with us for about 4 months, wrecked one of our vans, didn't have a viable explanation. Since then I'm on my second replacement. First guy decided after 4 or 5 days wasn't for him, so now I'm on replacement number 2, and we're 3 days in, and it's a little rocky so far. So I might be on replacement number 3 before I know it. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it doesn't happen. Try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Typically, Jace would probably agree. You want to see him train faster than slower, but take the time to learn the job so they can do it properly. So it's just finding somebody. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of different attributes you're looking for, and one of those is obviously the self-management, and personality. Personality is a big one because this guy's out there, this person's out there representing your company. You don't want him to be bland or rude or arrogant, right? You want him to be personable, and not everybody's that personable anymore. And going back to the technology thing, most people have their noses buried in a phone, so they only know how to talk through a video camera or TikTok or whatever social media platform they are. So when it comes face to face, sometimes that changes their whole, the way they communicate. So that becomes a little challenging too. So that initial interview, you really need to be face to face and get a good idea of who you're dealing with.
And Chris, one question I wanted to hop into, because you made a comment like you're on your second guy from that other replacement, and it's kind of rocky. So there may be a third one, hopefully not, but might be. Like, I know I talk with you and Jace a lot, but like I don't think I've ever asked the question, where do y'all typically try to find these guys to even bring them in for an interview or anything? Are you using like the Indeeds and different things like that? Is it more word of mouth? But like, I think a lot of people would be curious, like, where do you actually find these people, even just to bring them in for an interview before you hire them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've used Indeed. I feel it's geared for bigger companies. I mean, we're only 12 or under. We do have the magnet on the vans that, hey, when we're looking for somebody, we slap it on the back, and I tend to get quite a few calls. Word of mouth for me works pretty good. Talking through people. I mean, even some of the employees I have here, hey, you know anybody looking for a job? And most of the time, yeah, they know somebody who's either lost their job or is looking to change the industry they're in as well. So one of the guys that just applied, he was believe it or not, a substitute teacher. He had a degree, and I'm looking at him like, man, you're a little overqualified for this job. Well, he was tired of it. The instability of money coming in. He can't afford the summertime where they don't get paid, winter, spring, and he wanted to go back to route driving. Not necessarily route driving. He was route driving. I forget what he did. It wasn't vending. So it's interesting, the people you do come across that they're willing to take a step back. I mean, granted, he was a little closer to 50, so kids a little bit older, so he was looking for a little something easier and more stable to get him, I guess, through to retirement.
Nice. And I know we're probably going to have to switch topics just in the sake of time, but one last question would be, you talk about like word of mouth, people that they know. I know a lot of bigger companies, including Cantaloupe and stuff, offer current employees like some kind of referral bonus that they, bring somebody in that's good and it actually stays, 60 or 90 days or whatever it may be. Have either you or Jace ever implemented anything like that to try to incentivize your good employees to bring in some of their good friends or anything like that?
Oh, I haven't, no.
So we've tried
most of them don't I'm sorry, Jace, real quick. Most of them don't trust, they don't want to put their name on somebody that they refer, so they don't even want to have to deal with it. So it's more or less 2 or 3 people away from that initial person you talk to, right? That's the one. Hey, go down here and talk to Chris. So anyways, Jason, I apologize.
No, you're good. I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say we have tried to offer that a little bit, but most of the guys are pretty skeptical about telling us, hey, this guy wants a job, because they don't want their name to be on that guy as well. And back to your substitute teacher, like, we get those once in a while that are overqualified, and it's almost hard because you're like, I don't want to hire someone that's overqualified either, because then they're probably not going to stick around very long. So it's like a stepping stone. And for me, I'm looking for someone that you're going to get years out of, because it takes a lot of work to hire someone. It takes a lot of work to train them and get them to know the route. So we're looking for people that want to stick around.
And I wonder sometimes too, is that applicant just trying to fill a void? Is it just to get him through the next 2 or 3 months, or is he or she really telling the truth? Like, no, I want to stay here for the long term. I want longevity out of this. And the same goes with summertime. Kids are out of school, come by, apply for the warehouse position. Well, once school gets back in, you're going to lose them. So it's can you continue to do this part-time? Probably not, because you need to focus on school, especially if, you're starting college, right?
Yeah.
That's a little different than a high school kid, but typically we don't hire anybody under the age of 18, obviously for legal reasons. So.
Yeah, we like the little bit older demographic as well because like you get someone even 18 right out of high school, and that's typically a stepping stone too. And I'm not saying they have to guarantee us 5 years, but like if you're hiring someone in their 30s, 40s, 50s, like they basically more or less know what they want to do, and they're as soon as they find a job they like, they're gonna stick with it. We have some drivers that have been there for a long time, but then as soon as you're down a driver, it seems like it takes a year or two of 15 different guys to get one to stick.
So,
Absolutely.
Jace, Chris, what if we were to cap off this section? Then, what would be like your green flags of like when you're interviewing guys of people that are gonna be like sticking around? Maybe we can do like one green flag, one red flag each from both of you before we jump off to the next topic. So, Chris, I'll kick it over to you first. Like, what's a topic? What's a trait that you like look for?
If they come in and they're just outgoing, they're not shy about it. You know, introduce themselves, jump right into it. They're not reserved. They're to the point. That would be a green flag for me. Obviously, yeah, I mean, presence is a big one. You know, you want them to look good as well. You're not always going to get that. Red flag is just not being prepared. I mean, if you're coming in here for, you know, say a route driver position, you know, bring your resume, maybe even a copy of your driving record, so I know that your driving record's, you know, good. With some reasonable answers for my questions as well. If you can't cross off those three, that's a huge red flag for me, and probably not going to roll the dice on you.
Yeah. So I would say for me, when I am hiring, I do look at their or their history of jobs. So if someone's had 13 jobs in the last 13 months, honestly, I don't even take my time to look at them. And then same thing for green flags is if someone has had 3 jobs in the last 25 years, that's a big go ahead for me, and I want to interview them. So I mean, I guess my red flag and green flag, they're all kind of the same thing, but that's what I look at mostly.
That's a good point.
Well, great stuff. Now we're going to go in. We're going to change gears. Jace, we're going to move over to you. So again, we are
Perfect.
talking about lessons from the trenches. So for the challenge that you're talking about, do you want to introduce like your topic?
Yeah, no, that's fine. So my topic I decided to talk about today is price increases because I would say before COVID, we would get them, but you're getting them maybe like once every 18 months, once every year. Like you're getting a few price increases here and there. But I would say since COVID, we probably get 3, 4, 5 a year. Some manufacturers are harder than others. It's just getting crazy. I would say in probably the last since before COVID, things have probably doubled since then. Um, and it's out of hand. So in our industry, it's super hard because we're out there making that's how we make our money. I mean, we're selling candy bars to make 50 cents or a dollar or whatever you're selling your product and that's how we do it. So if you get a 10% price increase and you have 1,000 machines out there to go change pricing, it's going to take you 3 months to get out there and change all those prices. And then by the time you're done, we're getting another one. So like right now it's super hard to deal with.
Especially when you're only used to getting them once a year, right? And
Yeah.
you go from once a year to once a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's that process look like for you when you're having to change prices? Is that sending a driver out there? Do you need to send a special tech? What's that for you?
So some of our drivers can handle it, but back to drivers, they just want to do what their job is, and a lot of them don't want to go out there and change pricing. So yeah, we have 3 service techs that we send around. Um, I myself will go out there. Mark will go out there and we'll try to bust out as many as we can. In the past, it's fine because you could go out there and like I was saying, it's a year or more that you get. So it might take you a couple months to go change prices, and then you have another 10 months to sell stuff at the right price. But right now they're going up so fast that you can't keep up. And I know Cantaloupe has a remote price change now, which is awesome, but not all of my machines are capable yet. And so like that's not something that I can fully take advantage of because all of my machines aren't capable of that.
It helps though.
Yeah, no, for sure. And micro markets are a different animal because you can jump on your computer and change whatever you want on there, and customers don't care as much in micro markets. I think if you go to a vending machine and you see a bag of chips for $2, you're going to be upset. But if you go to a micro market and you grab a bag of chips, you're going to end up grabbing 3 other things and you're going to spend $12 and they don't even bat an eye at it. But you go to a vending machine and you try to get them to spend $12, it's not going to happen. Like
They'll go to 7-Eleven and spend 10 cents more than what you're charging, right?
exactly. And
But that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I basically base our prices off of is I'll go around to C stores and I'll check them. Like I'll go to Maverick and I'll check what their bottle pricing is. And their bottle pricing, I just checked the other day, it's $2.89, and we're not even close to that right now. But when I go out and change prices, like most of our bottles are at $2 right now, which we're in the process of upping those as well. But when I go around, I have the customers that throw a fit. Like they get upset and I have to tell them every time, like, listen, if you can go to any gas station and buy a 20-ounce bottle cheaper than I'm selling it, you call me, I'll go check it, and then I'll lower the price to that.
Yep.
And but I have to tell them it's not like a buy 3 and get them for X amount. Like if you're going in and buying 1 Coke, if you can buy it for even close to my pricing, I'll come in and I'll change it. But they can't. They can't ever do that. But that's kind of how I go about it most of the time. Is just tell them go check C stores and you let me know if you find a better price, and then I'll
We'll
change
always
it.
be the bad guy, Jace.
Yeah, I know. No matter how you look at it. But like, I don't know. I mean, that's why
those like price. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Russ.
Go ahead. You there, Russ? So he must be out for a minute, but yeah,
I was just going to say, and I look to be having a little bit of technical difficulties, but
Shoot, some audio issues there.
Yeah.
Wait,
But, yeah,
take it back. I'm good now. Jace, I was just going to ask, like, you were talking about the conversation with the customer. Do you have those preemptively, or do you usually just have the conversation if it comes up because you made the price increases?
So a little bit of both. It depends. A lot of the time I do just try to go in there and change them. If someone stops me while I'm in there, then I'll have the conversation with them then. Sometimes I will go in and have the conversation beforehand. It all just depends on the relationship I have and the size of the customer. I mean, I've even had I lost an account last year when we were out raising prices, and he said, "Well, I have this guy that said he'll do it cheaper." And at the end of the day, like I can adjust my pricing a little bit, but we're out here to make money too. Like this is our job. So if I'm not going to make money, I'm not going to do the account because it doesn't. No one wants to work for free. So I did lose an account last year for that reason, and I just told the guy, I said, I promise you, he's not going to be able to sustain those prices. And sure enough, 6 months later, the guy calls me back and says, "Hey, you were right, and his prices are way more than yours were now. Can you come back?" So we have that account back now.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think price changes are happening so often too, whereas before you were able to give them a notice letter that you were raising prices, but it happens so frequently now. There's no way you can send a letter, wait a month, and you have to just do it. And
yeah,
I mean, maybe post a sticker, say, "Hey, prices are subject to change," but
for sure.
Then your machine's just becoming a billboard, with messages on it. So and most people don't care. They get it. I mean, it's not like we're going up $1. We're going up 25 cents in most cases.
Yeah. And people are a little bit more understanding because they have seen grocery store pricing. They do know. So they are a little bit more understanding now, but you still get a few of the people that and those are the people that complain about everything in their life. So it's not just us, it's everything. You can't make them happy.
Do you have more? I mean, I've had some instances where people actually wait to buy stuff out of the machines because it's cheaper than stopping at the store on the way to work. In some cases, not all cases.
Yeah.
But in some cases, like, nah, you're cheaper than anywhere else, so why wouldn't I just not buy it from here?
No, for sure. And I do get that once in a while, but you don't hear that very often
Not
because they
often.
don't
It's
want
not
to.
often.
Yeah,
No.
they don't
That's
want to
like,
admit that we're cheaper because they're afraid that we're going to go and raise our pricing. But yeah, you hear that once in a while, but just not a whole lot.
yeah, and y'all touched on it. You would think that, with inflation the way it is and in grocery stores, everything's like doubled, like people would be anticipating price changes. But I guess they don't really see that, because when y'all were talking about it earlier, when I asked the question, do you ask them first? It's like your convenience store doesn't ask you if they should change prices or if you're okay with it before they do. You just walk in and your chips or your drinks are more expensive and there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm sure y'all wish most people had that thought process.
And I think it's kind of like too, like we're like the Subway, $5 footlong campaign. It was too successful in like 2000, and so now everyone in their head thinks a $5 footlong should be $5. And nowadays in 2024, it's going to be more like $12, and everyone gets mad. And they forget that was 20 years ago when they ran that ad. And I think it's a similar deal where people are like consumers. They'll say like, "Oh, $1, so so it should be $1 a machine." That's what I remember when I was a kid getting this. It's just not the case anymore. But I agree with you saying now. I feel like the mindset's a little bit changing. Reality is kind of coming a little bit more to people to understand.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like that's why micro markets are a little bit easier because it's not the same mentality of a vending machine that should be $1. It's they walk up and it's more like a convenience store, so they don't even
Convenience
really
store
look at
feel, they
pricing.
can touch and feel it.
Yep. Yep, they can pick it up and hold on to it before they actually purchase it.
So I know I've talked to guys that are still hesitant to go and raise prices because they think like, oh, I don't want to, upset my customers, or I think this is just how it should be. What do you have like kind of like a final word for them, or you say like, okay, this, here's what you would like to kind of communicate to them as what you believe on pricing?
Yeah, no, I mean, the way I look at it is if you're making money, I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, we're not doing this for fun. We're doing this for a job. So if you're profitable and you can be a little bit cheaper and it's such high volume that you're still making a good amount of money, then don't raise it. But if you're at an account that you're only selling $150 out of the machine a month and you're not at 50% product cost and you're sending a driver there once or twice, like by the time you're paying gas, insurance, your driver, throwaways, you're not making money.
That's a good point, Jace. I mean, I think you could, at your discretion, right? If you're going there 3 times a week and collecting $350 each time, then maybe not raise them up so much, because I'm more for that fast nickel as opposed to that slow dime myself. Especially when it makes sense.
Yep.
Very good. All right. Well, we're already a few minutes over, but I think we've been talking about the last, bunch of great stuff here. Want to go around the room, do a last word, and then we'll sign off. Chris, feel free to go first. You can talk about anything you want as a closing note.
I mean, I just, I think we all hit on some pretty good topics. It's kind of exciting to see how, with as well as this one, I can't kind of wait for the next one, because it's, some of the stuff Jay said, goes with the same stuff I think, and hopefully the other way around with him, as well as the points I touched on. So be nice to your vending operators out there, everybody.
There you go. Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I've met a few guys from Cantaloupe events that I'm now friends with, like Chris is one. And it's nice to be able to pick up a phone and talk to someone in the same industry that's having the same issues that you are. That's not your direct competitor. I mean, me and Chris will never compete with each other. So like it's awesome that I can pick up the phone and call him and ask him a question, vice versa. He can call me and talk through a few things, because you don't have that option in town, because anyone you talk to in town they're your direct competition.
All right, Russ. You're up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would just say, first and foremost, Chris, Jace, like I said, I talk to you guys all the time, but thank y'all for hopping on this with Adrian and I, our first one, what is it, the morning brews, but I'm excited for the future of these. And again, just like Jace said, I love that I've been able to help connect some of you guys and build that network. And the one thing that I would say to anybody watching live or when we put this up on LinkedIn to play it back is just, make sure you do have those connections in the industry so that this was obviously a formal event, but make those connections so in different states or different territories, so you have those operators to bounce ideas off of. Because like Jay said, every operator has the same problems in a little bit different way, but at the end of the day, they're the same issues. Whether, there's not an operator that's listening or will listen that hasn't had an issue with price changes or hasn't had an issue with employment challenges and things, because I hear it all the time. So just have those people. And I would also encourage everybody, once this is posted and for a playback on that LinkedIn post, comment what you do, whether it's price changes or employment strategies or anything, because that'll allow all of us and every other operator to be able to go back and look at that. But we'd love to hear from you guys as well. But thank y'all for your time for sure.
Russ, you nailed it. You took the words right out of my mouth. That was awesome. But yeah, Chris, Jace, this was great. This conversation was really interesting. I thought you guys gave an awesome insight into what you're dealing with now, some of the ways you can get over it, and totally agree. I think, Jace, you said it. We're all dealing with the same things. When you get a chance to chat with people that aren't your competitors and get to open up and really hear what they're struggling with and how they're succeeding too, I think that's a worthwhile conversation to join and listen to.
Yep.
So with that, let's close it out. Thanks a bunch again, everyone. We're going to be doing more of these, but appreciate your time. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.